All right, for problem 6, first let's start by drawing a 3D plane. So from the origin, you'd have a z-axis. Remember that the positive axes should be solid with an arrow on the end. The negative axes should be dashed. And then typically kind of coming out at these angles, you'd have the x and the z-axes. Okay, so you do need to label which one's which. So x, y, z. You could also have x and y kind of transposed as well. So there's such thing as a right-handed system and a left-handed system. Next, I'm looking for your tick marks to be parallel to the axis that it's parallel to. So notice kind of this slant on the y-axis, and then notice this slant on the x-axis as well. There we go. Okay. For a 3D plane that has all of those features, you get 1 point for the 3D plane. Okay. Now let's do what it asked. It asked you to graph the plane -4x plus 6y plus 3z equals 12 by finding its intercepts. So let's think about this. You know, when do x-intercepts happen? They happen when y and z are 0, and so the equation that you get when you're finding that would be -4x equals 12, just simply because if you're on the x-axis, you haven't moved in the y direction, and you haven't moved in the z direction either. So, so those values would be 0. So divide both sides by -4, and you'd get x equals -3. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1 point for getting that point on the graph. Okay, y-intercepts, if you're on the y-axis in a 3D plane, that means that you haven't moved in the x direction at all, and you also haven't moved in the y direction at all. And so for that reason, you'd be putting a 0 in for the x and z terms. So you just get 6y equals 12. Divide by 6, you get y equals 2. And so that would turn into this point right here, where your y-coordinate is 2, but your x and z values are both 0. 1 point for getting that point plotted on your graph. And then your z-intercepts happen when you haven't moved in the x or y direction at all. So x and y would be 0. So you just get 3z equals 12. Divide by 3, you get z equals 4. There you go. And 1 point for getting that point put on the graph as well. Okay. Now these points have to have some work to justify them. Okay. Now let's go ahead and fill the plane in. And this is the ideal answer for that one. There we go. Okay. And then the last point is for labeling the coordinates of each intercept on the graph. So that would look like this. So next to this point, you'd put 0, 2, 0, right? Because y is 2 and the other two coordinates are 0. And then this point right here, you would write -3, 0, 0. Sorry, it's so cramped there. And then this point up here, you would write 0, 0, 4. And that's this point right here. And the 4 points up above were for the 3 points and the 3D plane. There we go.